beats FIRS in court as Wike cautions taxpayers. So we know that this whole story began when Rivers State government took this matter to court, saying that they're supposed to be receiving the value-added taxes in their state, and that it was an aberration for the Federal Inland Revenue Service to go ahead and do that. They took this matter to court, and the judgment was in their favor. The court declared that it was a constitutional right of states to go ahead and collect value-added tax. But we know that the FIRS didn't take this line down. They lashed out saying they were going to appeal. They went ahead to appeal, but again, the River State beat them in court as the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt has dismissed the case, the application by the FIRS that was seeking to stop the River State government from enforcing the earlier judgment of the court, which is for them to collect VAT. Now, this links to the stories that we've seen in recent time, and the story we talked about yesterday on The Breakfast with Mr. Paul Nananba, a senior advocate of Nigeria, regarding courts giving differing and contradictory judgments. So we could say that maybe this was, the judge trying to sit up based on the invitation of, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, yesterday, to make sure that, like Mr. Nananba said, there is sanity through the courts and not chaos.
Yeah, that's, the point that I wanted to start with, but I don't want to, also discredit that judge. He, might have also have looked at the details of the case and, thought, it was wise to give that ruling, not necessarily because of the influence of the Chief Justice of the Federation, CJN. So there is that. But I understand the fears, that people have when there's some confusion like this in certain issues across the country. They always expect that there would be, another court somewhere in Kebbi or somewhere in Cross River or in Katsina, wherever, that would give a conflicting judgment. The conversation really, asides that part, is what exactly is the FIRS fighting for? If the court says it is not constitutional and the Constitution, is interpreted perfectly, then what exactly is the FIRS fighting for? What's your challenge with, what the court has said? I understand that they have maybe a quota that they need to meet up with regards to their collection of taxes across the country, which is remitted to the federal government. But, there's also need for, the FIRS to understand that there's still a Nigerian constitution that needs to be, followed. This is also a good time to once again speak about the idea of restructuring that people have been mentioning. At what point are states going to be independent and become, responsible for their own finances and for their own revenue? At what point are states going to be able to take certain decisions for themselves? There's, certain things that people have said they need to be taken off the exclusive list for a very, very long time. And Nigeria seems to just ignore some of these challenges. Like the country itself, the government itself knows that there are certain things that are just not really right. If you're running, the system that we're meant to be running, this thing shouldn't be this way. But we've ignored this for so long, for decades, and just thrown, our face the other way and act like, oh, we don't understand. And so it's a great thing that the River State has started this. I think Lagos State, I believe, has also taken, similar steps. And I hope that other states across the country, and that's very likely where our next top trending story is going to. I hope that other states across the country will be able to see that, yes, they should be able to collect value-added tax for themselves. It is not a federal tax. It should be, kept for the states and, not submitted to the federal government every month. I still would love to understand better what the FIRS is fighting for here. If this is, unconstitutional and the court has interpreted it perfectly to say that, is there going to be another court that would, see the Constitution different or read the Constitution different? I don't know, and I hope not. But once again, great move, by the River State government. And I'm hoping that other states will follow. And let's move into our next top trending story, which is Governor Masari, who, has said that he doesn't agree with River State collecting their value-added tax. And, according to him, he says that, this means that everybody, when you move to a different state, you're going to be paying a value-added tax, in Rivers. You're going to move to Kano, you're paying different value-added tax. You're going to move to Benue and different states, and the value-added tax will be different. Yes, and so what? That's the way that it should be, I believe. And I believe that what he's fighting for, and this is the narrative that I've seen a lot of people point out, is the fact that actually a lot, not some, a lot of states across Nigeria cannot really generate income for themselves. His state was only able to generate, I think it was 2020 or 2019, 8 billion naira, but received 136 billion naira from the Federation account that year. So how are you? And this is, one of the things that has been mentioned many times about how we put people in power that are just completely lazy with ideas on how to develop their states, with ideas on how to make their states better, with ideas on how to improve on the revenue of their states. They're completely lazy. So you have governors who vie for these positions, they campaign, they do whatever they possibly can to get to that position, only just to sit down there for 4 years and, of course, get reelected for another 4 years to really just be governors and not actually know what it takes, or look out for what it takes to develop the state, look out for what it takes to invest in infrastructure in the state to generate more revenue. Internal generated revenue for many states is embarrassing. Across 36 states of Nigeria, there's probably only about 5 or 6 states that you can look at and say, okay, yes, the IGR actually makes sense. Lagos State is mountains above, other states across the country. But if you look at states in the north, Katsina, Borno, and some of all those Zamfara, all those states, the internal generated revenue is embarrassing. And you wonder what these governors really do for 8 years, aside just be there. And then at the end of those 8 years, they get benefits, they get allowances, they get pensions that are way above people who have gotten to the peak of their careers and spent 30, 35 years working for the federal government. You've been governor for 4 years, and suddenly you have these entitlements that are just hard to imagine. But in those 4 or 8 years, you couldn't in any way develop new ideas with which you make your state more fruitful, or generate more revenue. And that's where I believe that is where Governor Masari is coming from. And one other thing that people have pointed out with this is, how do you want to collect value-added tax for things that people in your state are not even allowed to enjoy? You want to collect value-added tax for alcohol, because yes, some of the money that gets to be spread to some of these states is from the sale of alcohol in states in the south. But you want to collect that fund, that money from them, when you don't even allow the sale of alcohol in your state because of religious concerns, obviously. Okay. And so Governor Masari, I'm not sure what battle is fighting, really, but it makes absolutely no sense. And this should be one step, before the next one concerning restructuring. So,
what's ironical for me regarding the story? Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari reacted to the Rivers State ruling, that basically went ahead to say that Rivers State government can go ahead and collect VAT. His response to this was opposition. He said he would go ahead and, appeal the court judgment to say that he wants the FIRS to collect taxes, not state governments. Saying, just like you said, when you move to Lagos, you pay different VAT. When you move to Katsina, you pay different VAT. So you see what's ironical for me? He made this statement when he was speaking to the RMAFC committee yesterday. And in that same breath where he said states should not collect internally generated, states should not collect VAT, in that same breath, he went ahead to challenge the current revenue sharing formula in Nigeria and said that it was wrong for federal government to collect 50% allocation and for states and local governments to have to share the rest. Now listen, he wants states governments to get more money so that they can do more things in the state. Then he goes ahead to oppose one way for states to make more money, which is collecting value-added tax. How does that even work? How do you say state government should get more revenue allocation, but one way for you to get revenue allocation is through taxes, and you say, no, states should not collect taxes? Is it because, many activists here, like Liberal Shoma have said, people go cap in hand to get federal allocation. You want that. You want to collect allocation, just handed down to you. But when you have to actually do the work, putting infrastructures in place for you to go ahead and collect those value-added taxes and things that, would go ahead and, create more revenue for the state, it then becomes a challenge. So how then do you reconcile both thoughts? Do you really want more money or you don't?
So I think Governor Masari is focused on the wrong things. I think he also needs to be reminded.
He lacks clarity on what VAT and taxes can do for a state.
Maybe he does. He does understand what value-added tax is. He understands perfectly. He just is part of those people who have basically been governors too receive revenue from the federal government every month and spread it as, far as wide as they possibly, want to, and then, just be there for 8 years without any critical thinking, without investing in critical infrastructure, without investing in agriculture, without investing in education and anything. They're just there to exist as governor for 8 years. And once again, I think he should be reminded that the biggest challenge for Katsina State right now is not value-added tax. It is the insecurity that has ravaged his state to its knees. Mm-hmm. And it currently has made the news for the last few weeks every day with the worst stories. It's kidnapping, it's murder, it's killings, it's everything you can imagine. I think it was yesterday or on Friday that I said it, that there's a video in the Katsina State House of Assembly of their lawmakers crying, to their speaker and seeking solutions to the insecurity. Members of their State House of Assembly and their family members are being kidnapped. Wives, girlfriends, whoever, cousins are being kidnapped left and right. That should be Governor Masari's problem, not whether Rivers State wants to collect value-added tax or not. And it's embarrassing that we have not gotten to a place where some of these states really, should be able to say, oh, you're not working as a governor. You have no relevance as a governor. You've really just been there for the last 4 years. And there's nothing really. That truth
will be too hard for them to swallow.
All right.
Let's move on to our final top trending story this morning. And, it's about security. We know Sheikh Gumi. He's been a very vocal voice when it comes to security, and he's been very controversial. We know his stance regarding amnesty for bandits and the federal government accepting them, saying they're repentant. He basically is a fan of the carrot. He says the stick wouldn't work. And he put this in a post on Facebook yesterday. He titled this Zamfara, the Flaring of Crisis. So in that post, Sheikh Gumi went ahead to say that the military action in Nigeria by the federal government would not succeed in eliminating banditry. He said that these killer herdsmen, these Boko Haram terrorists are here to stay, and that the only way to basically ameliorate the situation is to wine and dine with bandits, is to give them an amnesty, is to forgive them, and he says, no official pardon, no end to banditry. But how does that make sense? If I do something bad and you forgive me, there is a tendency that I will do that again because your forgiveness is easy to get. So how do you, make it make sense to me to say that people kill other people and then you forgive them? Isn't that not license for other people to go ahead and commit crime? How does an official pardon work to checkmate bad behavior? Please help me. Sorry.
It obviously doesn't. But all of this is coming from, the foundations of this conversation where, the Nigerian government and, leaders in the north, including Sheikh Gumi, have not, I think have been deceitful with the nomenclature with which they describe these terrorists. And that's why for a long time we had unknown gunmen, we had bandits, we had killer headsmen, we had different names for people that should have simply just been called terrorists. With the same speed that the IPOB was prescribed years ago, even before they became violent now, like we're going to talk about today.
And all of that.
Before they got that way, when they were simply just having their rallies and being peaceful, they were immediately declared terrorists. I remember that day very well. So we've continued, to live in that lie for obvious reasons, for personal reasons, because, well, not personal reasons, but obvious reasons of certain characters in government and, in positions of power who do not want to completely, name these people terrorists. And, of course, immediately then know that the Nigerian government needs to do what it needs to do, what should be done with regards to eliminating terrorists from the country. So that's where all of this is coming from. If you're talking about amnesty, and every time they bring up this conversation, they always would, look back at Niger Delta Avengers and say, oh, since the Niger Delta men were given amnesty, then, these people should be. But it's very, very different. And the reason is the Niger Delta, persons, militants, had a cause that they were fighting for. There was something that they were fighting for. They believed in a certain cause, and that's the reason they were carrying out their, pipeline vandalism back then, kidnapping here and there.
They felt that the region could have been more developed.
It would be very, very unfair to put these two situations, at par. It would be very unfair because everybody lived through the period of the Niger Delta militancy, and it was never not even 5% as bad as what we have today from these terrorists. If we're being honest with ourselves, it's only a person who decides to be honest with himself and every other person that would equate them. So they're both crimes, but they were on totally different levels. The atrocities were totally different. Once again, those people had a cause that they were fighting for. Can Sheikh Gumi tell Nigerians what the bandits are fighting? What's their cause? What's their grievance with the Nigerian government? What exactly is the challenge that they have with the Nigerian state or Nigerian institution that has led them to commit these atrocities for the last couple of years? They have killed thousands. They have displaced thousands. They have kidnapped thousands even. 2021 alone, if you look at the figures, of people who have been kidnapped, it is shocking for just 2021. So I want you to then look at or imagine what the figures will be like since 2015 till date. What exactly is their grievance that you should now say, okay, let's have a conversation with them. Maybe we've been unfair to them in this regard, and we should grant them amnesty. There's no clarity concerning some of all this.
Which the military law enforcement agencies were formulated and mandated to check. That's simply what it is. It's crime that should be punished.
I don't completely. So I want to give a space where we can actually have a carrot and stick, possibility that there is, some level that we can say, okay, let's not completely use military tactics to deal with this. There's that possibility in a tiny way. But the body language of the Nigerian government concerning the life and property and the value of life in Nigeria should be one way. There's no, okay, let's forgive. I know you killed 12 people. I know you wiped out a whole village in this year, but okay, let's pardon you. And then this one doesn't get the same pardon. It should be the same way that the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people and the Nigerian criminals, terrorists, bandits, everybody should know what the Nigerian government stance is with regards to murder of Nigerian citizens. And when you don't have that stance, it creates a space for people to commit these atrocities and expect that there will be somebody who will speak on their behalf and say, oh, let's grant them pardon and grant them amnesty. Until we take that step, until we have a government that knows and tells the Nigerian people this is going to be the Nigerian government stance with regards taking the Nigerian life, the value of the Nigerian life. Until we have that government, we'll continue to see these things crop up every now and then. And there's always space for 5 people to name themselves a particular group, carry AK-47s and commit atrocities against the state.
That's it on Top Trending this morning. But guess what? There's more on the papers across the national dailies. Let's take a break here and we'll return with Off the Press.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Welcome once again to The Breakfast here on PlusTvAfrica. Now let's look at the stories making headlines across Nigeria today. We're going to be joined by, or we have been joined rather, by our guest, Mr. Chris Wandu, who's the publisher of CKN News. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope you are having a nice day.
Yes, we are. Good to see you. All right, we're starting with stories from the Punch newspapers, which, of course, should be on your screen in just a few seconds. The big one there, it says, APC multiple court cases, aggrieved members dare Buni, panel compiles litigants list. We won't withdraw cases. Buhari party can't stop suits, says aggrieved members. And it also says, we stand by NEC decision that all court cases must be withdrawn, says party. Protest Rock Otta Road. Or rather, protest Rock Otta over bad roads. Residents block Abeokuta Lagos Highway. Also on the Punch, ASU fresh strike threat causing panic. No agreement yet, says the federal government. Nigeria spends 1.47 trillion naira on petrol imports in 6 months. Poor prosecution endangering victims and others, says the CJN. And also conflicting judgments. NJC invites 3 judges, one's chief judges across the country, I believe. Wike orders value-added tax collection. Lagos bill scales second reading. And CSOs knock FIRS over proposed social media tax. Ooh. Still on the Punch this morning. Illegal admission. Federal government compiles errant varsities list. And conflicting court orders obstacle to credible poll, says INEC. A few others. Buhari constitutes health reform panel, appoints Agtifa and NCDC boss. And stop preferential cutoff marks for northerners, El Rufai tells JAMB. And NNPC begins sale of shares in 2024.
Let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper. The headline says, Lockdown, heavy clampdown on bandits in Zamfara. Operation successful, bandits instigating locals to protest. They're on the run, releasing captives. That's according to Matawale. Residents say they will endure the pain of the security measures. And over 40 rustlers killed. Logistics hideout bombed in Kaduna. Cholera kills 2,141 in 23 states and the FCT. That's according to the NCDC. Value-added tax. Wike moves to enforce law as court rejects FIRS injunction. Unrest, federal government, governors, religious leaders move to save Plateau State. Buhari constitutes health sector reform committee, names Oshimbajo as chairman. Commuters stranded as protest rocks Lagos Abeokuta Highway. Kidnappers abduct former Akwa Ibom senator. CGN reads Riot Act, cautions chief judges on expertise orders and conflicting rulings. Orders them to take absolute charge in assigning cases and grills 7 CJs for over 6 hours.
All right. And out of the Nation newspapers. Conflicting orders, 3 judges to face NJC panel. CGN condemns embarrassing orders. INEC says how courts stall election process. Mietiala to sue Southern governors for open grazing ban. And also gunmen kill police sergeant, abduct ex-senator. Pension fund rises to 12.8 trillion naira. Also on the Nation, Nigeria's wild polio-free status not threatened. Igboho's case for hearing as Benin Court resumes. That's also in the nation. And sit at home, crippling Southeast, governors lament. The Vice President, Yemi Oshimbaju, heads health sector reform team. That's the final one on the nation newspapers this morning.
Let's take a final look at the leadership newspaper. States begin consultation over VAT verdict as court quashes FIRS application. Agency was collecting VAT in error ab initio, court rules. Judgment recipe for economic chaos, says Masari. Wike alleges conspiracy, demands full implementation of Rivers Tax Law 2021. 2023, Umahi says it's too early to discuss Igbo presidency. Ex-Rivers military governor Anthony Ukpo dies at 74. Nigeria records 121 type 2 polio cases. Guinea coup leader bars government officials from foreign travel. Mieti Allah vows to sue governors over anti-grazing law and conflicting orders. 3 judges to face disciplinary action.
All right. Chris Wandu, good morning once again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's bring you in, first of all, on the controversy concerning value-added tax. The FIRS initially had challenged that. The court ruled in favor of the River State government. But now also the governor of Katsina State, Masari, is also complaining about that ruling. What are your thoughts?
Well, the FIRS failed in its bid to secure an interlocutory injunction stopping the River State government from implementing the state VAT law. Don't forget a court of competent jurisdiction within River State gave that judgment, which was instituted by the River State government, which believed that the issue of tax, or especially VAT, is more of a state affair and not a federal affair. And it feels that it's not within the exclusive list of the Constitution. And validly, the court gave a verdict in support of that, in support of the application of River State. And that is how, initially it was the governor of River State said that they wanted to see the outcome of the interlocutory injunction, which was filed by FIRS, that is like the court found no merit in that application and it wasn't granted. So River State is going ahead with the implementation of that VAT law. And Lagos State also is also gearing up, also wants to begin theirs as well. And personally, I think it's a constitutional thing. So if the court of competent jurisdiction has some senses in what they've said, then it remains what it is. If the FRS or the federal government feel that that judgment is not the right thing, what they need to do is to appeal, go to court of appeal, and if that is not also, either of them can also go as far as the Supreme Court. But I have always been one of those that believe that the state should be allowed to collect those VAT. Because what we have presently is that you see states that are not even doing well now come to the table to share out of the VAT collected from several other states. And let me give you a typical example. There are some, especially in the south, there are so many states in the north that don't believe in alcohol. They don't. You see them smashing bottles every day, like the one that you have the this bar that goes around arresting people, closing down bars and the rest of them. And when you see truck of load of beer, they get them, destroy them and the rest of them. But that same alcoholic drinks get vetted in other states like Lagos, River, and some other, especially the states from the south, and they share out of that. So you can see the hypocrisy in that. So, and from what I've seen, it's like close to about 40% of what is generated in VAT comes from Lagos, over 40%. But that will be shared among the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja. So I think there's some lopsidedness, there's some disparity there. So I totally agree with that. But as I said, a court has given that VAT. The Katsina State governor has the right to whatever he wants. If he's not standing on the point of law, then he has no value. But if he also feel like challenging, he as well can go to court. But can he go to court against a law that is taking place in Rivers State? That's whether he have that power.
All right, Mr. Wandu, you've just said that states have the right to collect VAT. Just states
That's
also
what the
have the
Constitution
right.
says.
Sorry?
At least for now. I said that's what the Constitution says for now. Based on the courts.
Do you also think that states have the right to ban open grazing in their states? And I ask that because when we look at the leadership newspaper, as well as the paper, The Nation, it talks about Miyetti Allah here vowing to sue governors over anti-grazing laws. Now, Miyetti Allah is saying that these anti-grazing laws will basically deprive and deny pastoralists from their livelihoods. And recall that southern governors had taken a stance to ban open grazing September 1st. And so many other northern states like Zamfara, Kaduna, and Katsina have also banned a movement of cattle in their states. But Miyetti Allah is, saying they will take this to court. So the states also have a right to ban open grazing in their states.
The states have the right to ban anything in the states. That's why you have the State House of Assembly. The State House of Assembly makes law for the states, while the National Assembly makes law for the nation. So if the states find it necessary that there is need for peace and security within the states, that there is need for them to come up with such law, they have the right. Once it has gone through the constitution means, through the State Houses of Assembly, and they pass it, and once it is signed into law by the governor of that state, it becomes a law. We are not practicing a unitary system of government. What we're practicing is a federation where each state has the right to be able to determine what happens within their state, while the federal government also has. So there's what we call exclusive residual list. So the states have a right. Let me ask you, are you not aware that some states have this environmental sanitation law that every Saturday, you don't need to move from within their state for about 3 hours? State governments have that right. They can enact that law. So any state House of Assembly or any state in that wise, that phrase there are certain things that they need to do to be able to move the state forward. Once that law is taken to the State House of Assembly, and is passed and signed by the state government, it becomes law. But if you feel that is in any way hindering your movement or your personal rights as a citizen of Nigeria, then you have the right to go to court. Everybody has the right to go to court. They can go to court. It is now for the court to decide. But from what little I know about law, I know that states have that right.
All right.
So that it can be challenged if they feel they can challenge it.
All right, Mr. Wandu, something on The Nation, who I think makes headlines across the papers this morning, and also has been, interesting topic in the last few days. There's a conflicting court rulings that has, of course, necessitated the summoning of some state chief judges by the CJN. The Nigerian Bar Association has also spoken, and also it says here 3 judges to face NJC panel. Let's get your views on that also.
As an elementary student of law, in 200 level, I was taught, we were taught constitutional law. And jurisdiction is one of the first things you learn as a student of law. Every court has its jurisdiction. And a court of coordinate jurisdiction cannot invalidate any ruling by another court within the same rank, if you understand what I mean. A court in Lagos, a high court judge takes a decision, another high court judge in any part of this country cannot invalidate that judgment given by that high court. The best you can do is to go to the court of appeal. That is how it is done. So what we are just seeing now is a total aberration, is unconstitutional. The judges are just doing whatever they like. And I think this is why the Chief Justice of Nigeria has summoned the 7 chief judges of those states to come to Abuja. And for me, it is not just about that. It's not the chief judges that should be summoned. It's the judges that are involved. And I think that is what the NJC is doing now. The chief judge, the chief justice of the Federation does not have any right over those judges. It's only the NJC that have been empowered to do that. Then that is one. The second part of that is also the NBA also have to look at a situation where look at their members. Those members or those lawyers who continue jumping from one court to the other to be able to get this kind of rulings in injunctions. So also be sanctioned by NBA. They know the right thing to do, but they're not doing it. So it's both what we call both the bench and the bar that is before the firing squad. Now something has to do. We have to do something as quickly as possible to arrest this situation, or else we find ourselves in a situation that come 2023, the general election is coming in 2023. If we continue to go this way, then we're going to be in deep problem. So I'm totally for the invitation of those judges and where necessary, some of them should be removed, especially that one from Kebbi that started all this. You know, it means that Kebbi chief, that judge in Kebbi doesn't even know what he's doing. He doesn't know his work as a judge. There is no way you can do that. And I expected that the chief judge of that state could have called him to order because he's the one that assigned these cases. Although you cannot blame me, he only assigned the cases, but he doesn't know what the judge is going to come up. So I'm totally for this. Maybe we shall start using these people as a deterrent, and so that others who want to go that same route wouldn't do so again.
Okay, on the Daily Trust newspaper, this story reads, Buhari constitutes Health Sector Reform Committee, names Osinbajo as chairman. On The Nation, it says Osinbajo heads Health Sector Reform Team. We know the crisis and the challenges we've been having in our healthcare sector regarding strikes by different health bodies and unions in the country. Now we're saying that the presidency wants to reform the health sector, and they have constituted a committee that will sit for 6 months with Osinbajo heading that team. What can we expect, from this committee? An end to strike actions, final payment of, salaries that have been owed by healthcare workers and all of that? Or are we still seeing the same committee formation and then nothing being done, Mr. Amondo?
Well, I want to be an optimist, but my heart of hearts, I'm a pessimist when it comes to this. I personally don't think that anything will come out of it. Tomorrow, when we are going to have we have issue in the education sector, we are going to set up another committee headed by who? Don't forget that presently we are still having the issue of ASU that has not been solved. The problem in the health sector is very, very terrible. Don't forget that. Well, the federal government, through the Minister of Labour, came out yesterday to say, oh, yes, we've had some kind of agreement, and we're going to look at issues that have been raised, and we're trying to solve it, or we've solved it, and the rest of them. But the only thing that is the no work, no pay is going to stay. So, but every other demands. But the problem within the sector, the health sector, is so terrible that even within the ASU Rock, don't forget that the current First Lady, Aisha Buhari, complained bitterly about the situation of things at the State House Clinic, that things are so terrible. But let me share that optimism and believe that something will get it right this time around through the Vice President as the head of that committee. 6 months to look at the issues within the health sector. I don't think we can be able to solve that within 6 months. But let's see how it goes. But for me, the body language of some of our leaders is not even anything to go by. If you see the way the Minister of Labour, who's supposed to be a lawyer, a doctor, the way he speaks on issue of within the health sector, you are not hearing much from the Minister of Health. You are not hearing much from the Minister of State of Health. Both of them are doctors too. And the doctors are complaining on a daily basis that agreement being reached with the federal government is not being honored. And that has been very, very consistent with this administration and the previous administration. And also, let us look at our budgeting for health. The World Health Organization gave a benchmark for what should be allocated to health, education, as 30 some other sectors within the economy. But are we even meeting up to that? All our health centers, whether at the federal or state level, it's just becoming places that people can't even go to. The doctors are not being paid. We just have an average of about 40,000 doctors to a population of over 200 million. Right. We don't have enough. So I think that let's give the vice president and the committee the benefit of the doubt and see what they can come up with. Well, personally,
the vice president has also, headed other committees in the past, and I also saw some people complain, that they should have been a healthcare professional that should have, headed that committee, not a senior advocate of Nigeria, but totally different. And also to quickly mention that, one of the things Aneta had shared earlier was that cholera, has killed, more than 2,000 people. And so, it's almost at par with the same figures for COVID-19. It's almost at par with the fatalities for COVID-19 in Nigeria. Same with cholera. But let's move away from health and some of all of that. Let's go to the southeast, where you're from. The sit-at-home order, it says here, sit-at-home, crippling southeast, governor's lament, is one of the things that we'll be talking about today. But I want to get your thoughts on the continued sit-at-home every Monday, even if the IPOB, had initially put out a statement saying it was cancelled. But it seems like, their members don't agree, and people in the southeast still stay home every Monday.
We have been on this for the past 3-4 weeks. Every time I come on there, we discuss this. In the past 4 weeks now, practically every week. And I've always been, they started it. But after the first week, they say, no, okay, we're going to cancel it. Let people move around. And people have to refuse to go about their different duties every Monday. Not because of the fact that they really want to stay at home, as I've always said, but because of the fear that they'll be attacked. So it's good that the governors of the Southeast are coming in, especially Governor Mwai is coming out to say this now. But my challenge there is that I want to see what they can do. Let it not just be rhetoric. Let them be able to assure the people that their safety is guaranteed. They come out on Monday to go and open their shops or go about their businesses, that it will not be attacked. It is the fear that is making people to stay at home. It's not just a total solidarity with Nnamdi Kalu or IPOB or whatever.
Yeah, but Mr. Wandu, do you think there is something that the people of the Southeast can do if they are truly tired?
Yes. I've said it often or not. The fact is that they should just go about their businesses. Pardon the use of word. I'm just feeling that some people are just being foolish by just saying that you won't go out on Mondays and rest of them, because IPOD have already said that. And
but Mr. Wandu, we've seen cases of people who went about their businesses, and what happened was that the IPOB members went ahead to harass them, destroy their goods. We have reports about a lorry here. These guys went to vandalize some properties of people when they go about their lawful businesses. So would you say it's the state governors who are not doing what they should?
I said that before. I said the state governors should go out and come out and assure the people, not just saying it, just merely saying it in rhetoric terms, but also come out with policies that will assure the people of their safety. Then our security agencies, what's the police doing? What's the job of the police? We have also military formation across the Southeast. What are they doing? So I also think that they should come into play. We have the civil defense as well. We have the DSS. It is their duty to be able to secure the life and property of Nigerians within that place. So, but if the people are not seeing that out, that is why I said it's the fear of attack. Yes, I saw the lorry you're talking about. It was carrying bicycle parts and rest of them. It was set on fire. Yes, and but I believe the governors can do more. It is with the chief security officers of their states. So, if they cannot assure their people of their safety, then there is problem. If they can be able to do that and put in practical terms some measure that will guarantee the safety of life and properties of people in the Southeast, you will see them coming out.
Well, I think we're very likely we'll wrap up with this conversation. We're going to have it, a lot later also on the program. But I want you, to share why you think the governors don't seem to be taking these steps, like you've mentioned. There's the DSS, there's the NSCDC, there's the police, there's, all the security formations that exist across the whole of the Southeast. That are at their disposal, I believe. So why do you think that they've decided to just ignore it and everyone sit at home on Mondays?
One, first and foremost, the governors don't have a right over those security agencies.
Yeah.
Every commissioner, you know that very well. The commissioner of police takes instruction from the IG in Abuja. The various military commanders take the one in the southeast, those military commanders, they take order from the chief of army staff and the rest of them in Abuja. So most of that is why we have been clamoring for the state policing. That is where the governors can have a right. If we have state policing and local policing, as we've been advocating over the years, then that's some of these issues. And the level of insecurity not only within the southeast, across Nigeria will be reduced totally. But when we have a single structure of command for the security agencies, it becomes very difficult for the chief executives of that state, of those in this state, the governors in this instance, to do anything. When they give orders to the commission, if the commissioner doesn't get a directive from the Inspector General of Police in Abuja, he might not be able to move. So but don't also forget that the police are also being under attack in recent by IPOB. Then we also have to look at how many policemen do we have. We don't have enough. We don't have enough policemen. But even at that, the ones that we have are not even doing what they are doing. If move from Lagos to the southeast and see the number of checkpoints, the number of policemen that are on the roads doing nothing. All they are doing is just extorting. Channel those security agencies into the states, various state and local government, and they will do their job. But you see them, about 5 of them, 10 of them at every checkpoint, every 5 minutes to drive along that route, from Shagamu to Benin to Onitsha, down to Port Harcourt. You see them on the road, and several times the IG have said, "Go, I don't want to see any of you on the road." But on a daily basis, they are on the road. You see them in their tents, and people are continue kidnapping people, even under their watch. So I think there's a disconnect within our security agencies and what is going on, and it's just getting too terrible. It's just since as nobody is in charge of what is in terms of security, nobody's in charge, and I put that squarely on the laps and on the table of the president, because he's the chief executive of this country.
Yeah, almost even seems intentional at this point, because these are very, very simple things that nobody needs to read a book to know. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chris Wandu, for your time. It's always interesting hearing you, and of course, we wish you a very beautiful Tuesday ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With love from Abuja. Thank you very much.
Okay. And stay with us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going back in history. What happened on this day, the 7th of September? I'm going to be telling you about Egypt and elections in 2005.
And I'm going back to the year 1996 to tell you about the death of a hip-hop legend. You're welcome back to the breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. Let's now go back in time to the year 1996, the 7th of September. And on this day in history, rapper and hip-hop artist Tupac Shakur is fatally shot in a drive-by shooting. This happened at around 11:30 p.m. on that day. He and his crew, driving back, and unfortunately they stopped at a red light, and he was fatally shot. He was shot 2 in the chest, and 1 in the arm, 1 in the thigh from a .40 caliber round. And he died from his wounds 6 days later. And at the hospital, Shakur was heavily sedated, placed on life support machines. He was ultimately put in under a medically induced coma after he repeatedly tried to get out of bed. At the time of his shooting, an entourage of around 10 automobiles were following Knight and Shakur's vehicle. So they say that the medical cause of his death was respiratory failure, and that's from the fatal gunshot wounds that he had received. It was a very sad, incident. The mystery of his murder remains unsolved till today, even though many, of the rival gangs or rival other rappers, seem to have, been indicted in this particular case. And at the end of the day, people, point fingers to that rivalry, the Coast rivalry in the 90s, as one of the reasons for Shakur's death. And I think one of the most interesting things that I read about the story is that he requested for his body to be cremated and the ashes smoked by members of the Outlaws, and that exactly was what happened. I don't know if that's authentic information, but they say his body was cremated. It was sent to the group, the Outlaws, and they mixed his body with marijuana and smoked it.
Oh, good luck to them. Yes, it was in the height of the East Coast, West Coast war, and it was really just a music war that eventually turned into a gang war. Or gang war that turned to a music war. I'm not sure which now.
Thank God I stopped at Whiskey Davido Twitter level.
Yeah, there's we every now and then seem to be getting in, there, but I think Nigerians always realize that they value their
happy
life,
people.
Too much, to get.
They drag you on Twitter and that's it.
He had just left. I think it was a Mike Tyson fight that they had left that night. Went back to the hotel, had change of clothes, and there are the things that happen in life that you feel. Maybe if I had just done this instead, I probably wouldn't be dead now. There are a couple of times when he probably wouldn't have been at that red light.
You'd be dead to even remember that.
But he eventually got to that red light. They were even stopped by the police for playing loud music the same night and driving without plates. They eventually were let go. But it still happened. There's a couple of people who have been mentioned, as suspects who know, one thing or the other. And you mentioned that, the crime is still unsolved. And I think it's mostly because a lot of people have chosen to not speak. Because I know that there's people who know what happened on that night. And of course, a few months later, there was allegedly a reprisal shooting that led to the death of Notorious B.I.G. These were like the two major rappers that were, the faces of the East Coast, West Coast battle. And it's a sad, really, really sad, story, that, the hip-hop industry lost these two phenomenal legends at very, very young ages.
I'm telling you, just 25.
Really sad. There were rumors that he wasn't dead, that he was somewhere in Libya or Egypt or someplace. And that he was going to show up someday, but, that's obviously a rumor. Anyway, rest in peace to Tupac Shakur. His music still lives on, still one of the best rappers ever. Now let's go to Egypt in 2005. I'm going to share, first of all, the story on Egypt and then get to talk about the main character in the story. On this day, basically, elections were held in Egypt that featured more than one candidate. Hosni Mubarak finally fell, went under pressure from the United States and from the West and allowed other candidates to contest with him in an election in 2005. The presidential elections held on this day. He was obviously, once again, re-elected for a fifth consecutive 6-year term in office. Until recently, Egyptians had only been able to approve or reject a candidate approved or appointed by Parliament, and all Egyptians above 18 years are required to vote. There's something in the story. It says here that out of the 77 million population in Egypt, which is the largest of the Arab nations, only 32 million votes were registered. Voters rather were registered, which is actually pretty interesting. It's almost half, or even more than, almost half of the population that were registered to vote, compared to what we see here in Nigeria. The election was overseen by Egyptian judges. There were no international observers that were allowed to, see the election, and of course, it was allegedly marred by fraud here and there. Hosni Mubarak got into his fifth 6-year term. Now, about Hosni Mubarak, he was president of Egypt for almost 30 years. He's only the fourth, just behind Muammar Gaddafi and two others, longest-serving Arab presidents in the world. He got into power in 1981 and eventually left in 2005. 2005. Yes, in 2005. Furthermore, of course, the Arab Spring that started in 2011 were one of the things that also, characterized his time as president and his history as a leader. Eventually, was arrested after the Arab Spring in 2011. He stepped down actually in 2011. From 1981 to 2011. So he stepped down in 2011 after 13 days of rioting, was arrested later that year, sentenced to jail along with his sons. Later in 2015, there was another court ruling, a retrial rather, that once again sentenced him to jail, where he eventually died in the year 2020 at, it was 891 when he eventually died. So yes, he basically was that name, the same way Libyans know Muammar Gaddafi and the Iraqis knew Saddam Hussein as a person who had been in power forever, until, of course, the incidents of the Arab Spring. And I'm sure that if not for the Arab Spring, Hosni Mubarak will probably still be president till now at 91, or find a way to put his son there, after he leaves.
Yeah, but today was a historic day for Egyptians. The first time ever they had a chance to actually choose candidates. I mean, before then it was a yes or no referendum, so they had that chance for the first time, September 7th, 2005. And, Egypt had the first multi-party elections, the first politically competitive elections. And yes, that's what happened today in history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so stay with us. We'll be right back with our first major conversation regarding the Southeast, the IPOB sit-at-home order, and counting the economic cost of Ghost Mondays. Stay with us.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Welcome once again to The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. Our first major conversation for today moves to the southeast, and it's something we had already briefly spoken about during Off the Press with Chris Wandu. It is with regards to the sit-at-home order, also called Ghost Mondays in the southeast. Always shocking when you hear people, on a Sunday evening talk about not going anywhere on a Monday because, well, they have an extended weekend. And that is because of the indigenous people of Biafra's sit-at-home order in the southeast. Yesterday, there was also reports of a truck carrying motorcycle spare parts that was burnt. And of course, the goods destroyed for allegedly disobeying the sit-at-home order in the southeast. We're speaking this morning with Goodluck Ibem, who's the president, Coalition of Southeast Youth Leaders, who's joining us from Imo State. Good morning, Mr. Ibem.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. All right, there's a lot of reactions to the sit-at-home order. Some people, of course, are for it. Some others, and a growing number apparently, are completely against it. But it doesn't seem to be changing. So let me first of all start with, what the narrative is from you concerning staying at home on Mondays.
Well, the issue of sitting at home on Monday, the leadership of IPOB have already said that they have cancelled the exercise. Now, some criminal elements have now taken advantage and they are now destroying people's properties, harassing people to stay at home. And this is really bad for the economy of the Southeast. Yesterday, we had 2 incidents where a vehicle conveying motor pespa was destroyed. Another one at Anambra was conveying foam. The vehicle and all the goods was also destroyed. So this is really bad for the economy and the image of the Southeast.
Sorry, when you say the leadership of IPOB has, cancelled the sit-at-home order,
yes,
that doesn't seem to be the case because people are still sitting at home. So does it mean that nobody believes when the IPOB says or put out a statement like that because their members don't seem to be, doing or following that statement? And who exactly would you say is the leadership of IPOB currently?
Well, the leadership of IPOB is one. Before now, we only have Women Powerful that had been given their directives. The same person came and said, no more sitting at home. So now the people who are enforcing the so-called sit at home are criminals. Like last Monday sit at home, last week, 3 criminals went into a filling station in Ngokbana, robbed the filling station, collected a vehicle from someone, was moving out with that same vehicle. And the residents have to call on the security agencies who came, and those guys opened fire on the security agencies. There was exchange of fire, and 3 of them were killed. So what is happening is no longer IPOB stuff. It's now criminals who have hijacked the exercise and now are intimidating the people.
Okay, so Mr. Ibrahim, if you say that the sit-at-home order, which has allegedly been suspended, has been hijacked, whose responsibility then is it to reverse that hijack?
Hello, I didn't get you.
I said, whose responsibility then is it to reverse that hijack? Is it the state government? Because we've seen that their press statements, almost mean nothing. The press statement asking people to go about their lawful activities has had not, much of a great effect. So is it the state governors? Is it the leadership of the IPOB? Is it the Ohaneze Indigo? I mean, whose responsibility is it? Who has the influence and authority to ask the Igbo people in the Southeast to go about their lawful activities and they listen?
It is the responsibility of the government to give people directive on what to do and they'll follow it. But the security agencies have not been living up to expectations. So that is why the people are afraid and they refuse to come out. Because there is a lacuna between the people and the government. So that is the challenge. The government, the state government, the federal government should stand up and live up to its responsibilities of protecting the people.
So I want you to help me play out a real life scenario with the law enforcement agencies actually doing their jobs. Are you expecting, you know, the IGP to give an order to police commands across the Southeast, order them to be stationed at, you know, public places, such that when these IPOB or Ghost Monday hijackers come out to disrupt business activities, then you have law enforcement agencies on standby to checkmate it? Is that what we're looking at, or what do you have in mind?
There should be a patrol team.
Patrol team, okay?
Yes, of the security agencies. Like where that those vehicles were destroyed, there was no presence of security anywhere.
So do the security agencies also sit at home on Mondays?
Yes, that's they're even scared to come out.
You know, but what does this say then of the IPOB? Can you in any way? I know you very likely you're not a member, but what does this say about the IPOB and their fight in the Southeast and their cause in the Southeast?
I think it is that.
I'm asking, what does all of this that we're seeing now, what does it say about the IPOB?
What it pays for the IPOB?
Yeah, what does it tell, you know, of the IPOB?
Well, it tells that the IPOB that you have now taken over the reins of command somehow. For them to give directives and everybody will obey, it means that they are not in charge, which is not good. So the government should work on themselves. They should know what to do so that the people, they will gain the confidence of the people. The people have lost confidence in government. That is just what it does.
All right, and I also want you to share your views on the feelings of the people concerning this. I had a conversation with someone last week, and I was, you know, of course, in the same, you know, space, asking at what point are the people of the Southeast themselves going to get tired of sitting at home on Mondays and do otherwise? Do you think that that will happen?
The people of the Southeast are already tired of sitting at home on Monday. They are no longer happy to sit at home. Now, there is West African Examination Council examination going on, WAEC examination going on. And every Monday, some students are expected to write the examination. Now, do you expect a student not to write the exam because you are sitting at home? No. Most of these people who are saying they are enforcing the so-called sit at home are not learned. They don't even attend primary school. And now they'll be happy to see others sit at home not writing the examination. So that's the thing. The people are already tired of sitting at home. They want the government to live up to its expectations so that people can go about their lawful businesses. On Monday in Southeast, it's a serious business day for the people of Southeast. What is happening now is just like shooting yourself on the leg. It is seriously biting on the economy of Southeast.
Yeah, so and that's why it's difficult for me to understand what exactly the IPOB, you know, hopes to achieve, because I've described this really as just, you know, the influence or the euphoria of power and control. Does the IPOB think that they're achieving anything with this?
Yes, they believe that if they sit at home, that the federal government will be forced to release Nnamdi Kanu.
No, Mr. Ibem, I want to believe that, you know, they also have some sense, because obviously that's not going to happen. So what exactly then do they think that they're achieving with this?
Hello, I think this is sir.
I'm saying I want to believe that, you know, the IPOB and their members, you know, can think. They have some sense. And they can see that this is obviously not going to get anybody released. So what then would you say that they are achieving with this?
Yeah, to me, as a person, I don't think they're achieving anything with sitting at home on Mondays. So what they should do is to look at other alternatives. and forget about the sit at home on Mondays. They can't achieve anything politically sit at home on a Monday. It is. I don't see any sense in that.
So, how would you say the Ohaneze Ndigbo need to come in to douse the tension in the southeast?
Hello, I didn't get you.
Can you hear me, Mr. Ibrahim?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
So I'm saying, what role do you expect the Ohaneze Ndigbo, that Igbo socio-political organization there in the southeast, what role do you expect them to play? Is it as a mediator between the state government, between the IPOB? What sort of role do we expect that organization to play in making sure there is peace and restoration of order in those states?
Well, I would expect them to play the role of a mediator between the government and the leadership of IPOB. Because as it stands now, what we need is a political situation to the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu. If this matter is addressed politically, all this tension will douse. So that is the role I expect Ohaneze Ndigbo to play, so that the zone can move forward. It is not really, it's not easy for people to be sitting at home every day, and the economy will be gradually going down. So something should be urgently done by Ohaneze and other stakeholders in the zone, so that we can this whole thing can just pass.
Yeah, but that's not very likely to happen, and that's with regards Nnamdi Kanu being released, just like that. Do you think that the IPOB itself needs some level of control that they seem to have lost?
Look at the problem now. When IPOB came on board, the leverage on the marginalization of the Southeast people to gain the mind of the people. You can imagine the security sector of this entire country. There is no single person that is from Southeast. So many appointments in Southeast are not considered. Last time, 5 federal universities was approved for the 6 geopolitical zones. It was only 5 that got. Southeast was excluded. So they worked on the mind of the people based on the marginalization of the zone. And the people saw that it is true and now believe them and now have confidence in what they are saying. So you have to address this issue, is to address marginalization of the zone, so that the government, the people can now have confidence in the government. But when you are marginalizing the people of Southeast, and even when they are shouting, you keep marginalizing them, the people will continue to believe in IPOB.
So what you're saying is that even if there's people who don't necessarily enjoy sitting at home on Monday, they somehow also sympathize with the cause of the IPOB.
Hello, I didn't get you, sir.
So are you saying then that even though there's people who don't necessarily enjoy sitting at home on Monday, they at the same time also sympathize with the IPOB and its cause?
Yeah, that is the truth.
All right, and that brings me to the question once again that I asked. Do you think that it will get to a point where the people will revolt against the IPOB?
Well, the people don't have the will to revolt against them for now. Because from what I'm seeing and some views, and people don't have the will to fight. They have lost confidence in the government, and they just take anything they see as their fate. So that is the problem now.
All right, Ms. Ibem, share with me what's the conversation like on Mondays across the Southeast? You're in Imo State. When you've had conversations with people, what do they mostly say?
On Mondays, people don't see it as a normal day to sit at home now. They have adopted to it. When you go around, you see the youth play football in some locations. You see some people cooking, you see some people playing, Even inside the street, a very remote area, the shop is closed down. So it is now becoming a way of life, and which is not good. It is gradually keeping the economy of the zone. People don't complain again. They just sit at home because it is not a normal thing.
How would you also interpret the failure of government and its security agencies to enforce, the freedom to move about lawfully on Mondays? Because the guest that we had earlier had said that it's the Nigerian government's responsibility to assure the Nigerian people that they are safe to come out of their homes on Mondays, regardless of any order by the IPOB. So how would you describe the failure? Or, what would you say about the failure of the government to give that reassurance to the people? Because there's enough of the security agencies. There's the NSCDC still in the Southeast. There's the DSS, there's the Army, there's the police. There's all sorts in the Southeast. But the federal government has failed to use these security agencies to ensure or to reassure the people of the Southeast that they're safe.
Well, look at the challenge now. Those places that people normally come out from, you see some criminals standing at the junctions of most of those places, collecting phone, collecting money, collecting people's properties because they came out. Those places are not security agencies. You only see them in major roads. Those streets and whatever, you can't see the security agencies there. So those places you see them are not really important. The major places are at the remote areas. You don't see security there. And those criminals harass people, collect their properties, rob them and all that in the name of enforcing SNATOM. So they have failed. What they are doing, even me, I know everybody is indoors, not because you want to. Most people are indoors, not because they want to, but because they can't help it.
Is the IPOB, by their actions, aren't they now being oppressors of the same people that they claim to be fighting for?
The truth is that the people who are doing this are not the leadership of IPOB.
No, it's not. It doesn't have to be the leadership. Mr. Ibem, this is why I'm saying so. It doesn't have to be the leadership. Because if the IPOB has also seen that, the people are groaning, businesses are suffering, trucks are being burnt, people's businesses are being damaged and destroyed on Mondays simply because they came out and they stay silent. Because you might describe these people as, the criminals have hijacked it, but nobody is going to call them criminals like that. They're going to be assumed, everyone's going to assume that they're IPOB members, they're ESN members. And so when the IPOB stays silent, when they see these things happening, aren't they, basically being oppressors of the same people that they claim to be trying to save?
Well, the people who are doing this are oppressing the people. That is just the truth.
I'm going to call them IPOB members. There's no other way, because when the IPOB sees this, because you've called them criminals, but when the IPOB sees...
Do you know that IPOB have their registered members? And they have people who are enforcing their leadership, who are criminals, and who are not their members. So I don't describe everybody as IPOB members. They have their members, registered members. So these people who are doing this, most of them I have seen, are not their members. They are just criminals. They move around harassing people in the name of enforcing a statute in an organization. They are not members. I have seen most of them.
Well, when the IPOB sees these things happening and stays silent, it means that it's enjoying all of this that is going on. Don't you think so?
Well, I wouldn't read their mind or what they feel or what they think, because I believe the statement they made openly that they have cancelled the sit at home.
Yeah, Ms. Ibem, every now and then, and I'm guessing that you probably have done same, we react to banditry in the north and kidnapping and some of all of that. We also would say that, the federal government has condemned this. Well, we don't believe because, this is just another condemnation, from the federal government until we get to see, proper action. isn't that the same thing with the IPOB simply putting out a statement and then folding its arms to watch criminals take charge of the Southeast?
Well, I have read 2 releases or three made by IPOB leadership, by Mapoafu, their spokesperson, that they have suspended sit-at-home. Even the family of Nnamdi Kanu also made a press statement 2 occasions that they have suspended the sit-at-home. But the people, most of them are saying, no, we will not agree until we see our leader. Some of them are saying, you see some video moving around, that their leader cannot tell them not to sit at home, that the leadership have collected money from the governors and all that to tell them to go about their lawful business, and people must sit at home until Nnamdi Kanu is released.
Okay.
And most of them who are doing this might be members or whatever. But the leadership have made statement, even the family have made statement and said people should go about their lawful business, that there is examination, WAEC examination going on. They wouldn't be part of the report that would deprive people from writing their WAEC examinations. So I don't, that's the statement they made. So I believe that statement.
So, Mr. Ibem,
I have read it. It's online.
Okay, Mr. Ibem, I wanted to ask you questions, that poke on the motive for this sit-at-home order in the first place. So they're saying that they want Nnamdi Kanu to be released. Nnamdi Kanu has been arrested and has been in the custody of the DSS. Yes?
They're even saying that they want to hear him speak to them not to sit at home before they will believe it.
Well, we know of that story, but his lawyers have said where they are. They're not allowed to record him, speaking or anything like that. So people in the Southeast already know that they would not be hearing from Nnamdi Kanu to further notice. But my question is, they're saying that they want Nnamdi Kanu to be released by the DSS. They want him back home and free. And the way they're going about it is a sit-at-home order that is now hurting the economy of Southeasterners and even doing more harm than good. I mean, David Umahi, governor of Ebonyi State, has described that sit-at-home order as the worst thing that has ever happened to the Southeast. So what I'm saying is, since it seems that this sit-at-home order isn't working to achieve the aim at, making sure that Nnamdi Kanu is released, don't you think they should abandon this, find another solution? Maybe consider what they earlier started with the British government trying to get Nnamdi Kanu out. Because this route of sit-at-home order doesn't seem to be working.
Well, I didn't get your question very clear.
I am saying that, would you suggest that the IPOB abandon this sit-at-home order as a route to get to the release of Nnamdi Kanu?
If they abandon it?
If they need to abandon it and seek other alternatives to, agitating for the release of Nnamdi Kanu?
I didn't get the question.
Warren, good luck, Ibem. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, so my co-anchor is asking, do you think that the IPOB should have a change of tactics, seeing that the sit-at-home order is not going to get Nnamdi Kanu released?
It will not get him released. Only political solution can get him released. Sitting at home, I don't see how it will work to make him to be released.
Yeah. So do you think that they should have a different tactic instead?
Yes, they should have a different pattern. They should devise other means, political, legal means, or international contact or whatever to release him.
And talking about releasing him, do you know if the IPOB or IPOB are aware that he's facing trial? And he has to face trial. He has to answer for all the crimes that he has been charged with. You won't just release him because you lock down the Southeast. That's really not how law works. Do you think these people are aware of the standards when it comes to legal procedures?
Well, most of them are aware. Some of them are not aware. But the truth of the matter is, the anger of the people is in the manner he was arrested. The anger is that he was not arrested according to the law. His arrest was a kind of extraordinary rendition. So that is one of the things that is making the IPOB members to be very angry.
All right. Good luck, Ibem. Thank you very
Yes.
much for joining us
Thank
and for
you.
speaking with us this morning.
Thank
We
you.
wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Just before we go, I think, it's pretty much the same thing that I've said, with regards all of this. It's really just one of the things that he mentioned was seeing that the governors, political and traditional leaders in the Southeast, you may not even call them leaders anymore because they do not have the ears of people in the Southeast, obviously. There's also a failure of the federal government, and I said it to Mr. Chris Wandu, that it might it's starting to even look like it's intentional to ignore these demands in the Southeast. People want to go about on Monday. You have security agencies at your disposal. You don't use them. You instead just turn your face the other way. So that it's starting to look like it's intentional to even leave the Southeast that way every Monday. But the main point for me is that the IPOB has seen over time that they have this power, and that's what they're enjoying. So when they give these orders, they give these orders for any reason whatsoever. They bought a bottle of water, it wasn't too cold. Sit at home next week, Monday. Someone's dog died. Sit at home next week, Monday. They give these orders just because. And they've seen the euphoria. They felt the sweetness of power that they have over the Southeast. And that's why they continue to give these orders. They know that they can't achieve anything with it.
It's even counterproductive.
They know. And one of the questions that I asked a friend of mine a few days ago was, at what point do the people of the Southeast then decide, okay, we are done with this? And we're no longer going to be sitting at home. If government isn't going to be there for us, we'll be there for ourselves.
We've seen what people who dared to do that face.
No, well,
their wares were destroyed.
Well,
the truck yesterday was burnt.
To do that. They probably were just unfortunate. But if the whole of the Southeast says to themselves that on Monday we're coming out, they will come out. And a little van of 6 IPOB members is not going to shut the whole Southeast down. I don't want to call for violence or anarchy or anything. Anyway, we'll take a short break. When we come back, it is International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. And we'll be talking about that right after this short break.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
As many as 9 in 10 people breathe in polluted air, and air pollution causes about 7 million premature deaths every year, and that number is estimated to double by the year 2050 if nothing is done about it. And that's why a United Nations resolution of 2019, decided to declare September 7th every year as the International Day of Clear Air for Blue Skies. Now, it's a program facilitated by the United Nations Environment Program. And the theme for this year is Healthy Air, Healthy Planet. Let's invite the convener, Stop the Sooth Movement, Tunde Bello, to join us. Good morning, Mr. Bello.
Good morning.
All right, I want us to begin with air quality in Nigeria. What's the situation like?
Good morning. First, I'm not the convener. I'm part of the conveners, for the Stop the Sooth campaign in Rivers State. As regards clean air, we all know that Nigeria is one of the most polluted countries in the world. So that is to tell you that we cannot be arguing that because we know that our air is not clean. Due to various reasons, many factors have contributed to the issue of air pollution, including industrial activities, unregulated activities in the manufacturing sector, oil production, as well as chemical production in all the areas that they have these plants and investments in Nigeria. So if we're talking about clean air, we are not close to breathing clean air in Nigeria. I can say that with a statement of fact.
All right, we're going to go deeper into the Nigerian, situation. Port Harcourt, of course, is or Rivers State generally is a place of concern. But I've looked through the UNEP statement, and of course it says a healthy air, healthy planet, I believe. Yes, healthy air, healthy planet. That's the theme for this year's, celebration. But I want your thoughts. Do you think that there are certain UN goals or concerns that are difficult to sell in developing countries and third world countries? Because, there's just too many other concerns, that make things like this almost irrelevant.
Yeah. You agree with me that our attitude, our orientation, our survival instincts, and the way we go about our things in the country is just not the normal way. A country where everybody seems to be the providers of whatever they need. For example, I can't remember how long we have bought kerosene in the fuel stations in Rivers State. I've been living here for almost 20 years. I can't remember the last time I walked into a fuel station to buy kerosene. So now imagine, just escalate that to the 6 states, to the 36 states of the Federation, where it is difficult for people to get what they want where they're supposed to get it. So people need to go and fend for themselves. You have to buy kerosene that is adulterated. And what that means is that whenever you're burning the kerosene, you're releasing into the air unsafe pollutants, things that will hurt everybody that is breathing in that air at the particular point, at a particular place. So for developing countries, because of the way we do our things. Look at the manufacturing concern, for example. Technology is not used in most of the manufacturing concerns that we have in Nigeria, where countries have gone into automation, using technology to do their manufacturing concerns and processes. If you go to a place like Port Harcourt Refinery to look at their processes, look at the technology that is in use, you will agree with me that we are way, way, way behind. And that is a federal government establishment. So if you're talking about achieving Millennium Development Goals in developing countries, we are way, way behind, Nigeria inclusive, because we do not have the capacity. The human capacity is there, but we do not have the technology. Now, if you want to narrow it down to Rivers State, for example, where people involved in illegal refinery. And what does that mean? What makes it illegal? The process is not refined. The process is not complete because they have to circumvent. Instead of using maybe gas, they are using fire, they are using firewood. So all of these things contribute. If you look at the fuel we are using in our cars, you and I mean, you're in Lagos. If you go through the streets or even in Abuja, you see the emission from our cars. These are the contributors because even the fuel we are buying are not clean. And then the maintenance culture is not there. So all of these things contribute to the issue of air pollution and then the inability to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. It's very simple. We cannot achieve that if the technology and the capacity to do it is not there.
Yeah, the reason I pointed that out, is also because of the, the poverty aspect. How do you tell, a woman who fries akara at the roadside to feed herself and her family that she needs to stop using that firewood because, well, it's polluting the air?
Let me cut you. Now, in 3 weeks, or say in 1 month, I have bought 12.5 kg gas for 5,000 naira, for 5,008, and for 7,000 naira in 1 month, within a month. And when I put it out there that, can somebody explain to me why we are buying LPG for 7,000 naira for 12.5 kg? The responses I got from enlightened people shocked me. Now, some of them were saying, let's go to firewood. Some were saying, let's go to coal. I mean, these are things we shouldn't be talking about in 2021. So if it is difficult for people who are earning 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 a month to get gas, to boil water, to make food, then how much more the majority of Nigerians that are in the rural areas or even within the city that are very, very poor or who can afford 3 square meals a day. So it's a whole lot of issues that we must look at. The fundamental has to be the poverty level, has to be the orientation, has to be government ability to provide from taxes collected, from revenue earned, and give back to people. The taxes collected, the revenue earned is for redistribution, not for a particular set. So if you look at all of that, it contributes to the issue we have on ground. And I am not shocked that we are where we are as of today.
Okay, so I want us to also talk about how we can improve the air quality in Nigeria, like the practical steps. We know the government needs to do something. What are the practical steps that we can take, to begin to have cleaner air in the country?
Okay, while we were campaigning for Stop the Soot and ensuring that we have clean air in Rivers State, one of our 14-point demands was that the sources of this pollution, number one, the JTF activity by deconstructing illegal products seized. I mean, if we talk about illegal products, the illegal products are gotten from somewhere. So we need to track. This is a national wealth. This is something that belongs to Nigeria. So if these things are being stolen or they are being received in the wrong hands, we should identify how is that done. Now, petrol or fuel or crude oil is pumped from one source to another. How do people get to know when this thing is being pumped? How do people get to know when these things are being distributed? What methodology do we use in distributing our national product? Because if you say that somebody is stealing your product, then you should find a way to stop that theft. So the first thing we must do is to identify the source of theft, where people are getting these products from. Secondly, if these products are seized, do we have the capacity to warehouse them or to appendix them? Because if you catch a thief, for example, and you find something that the person has stolen from him, what do you do to that thing? It becomes an exhibit. You have to keep it somewhere. So if the JTF, the security agencies are seizing products from people who are stealing national products, where do they keep those things? So we need to find out. We need to have a technology or a farm tank or a place where these seized products are kept, not just destroyed and brought into the air like that. Because most times there is no space to keep all of these things. And what the JTF does is they just destroy them, and then the pollutants come into the air. So secondly, we must encourage and engage in technology. It is very, very important. The fuel we are talking about, a lot of countries are moving away from it. People are changing, and technology is changing every spheres of lives. So Nigeria has to develop a pattern, a policy, a regulation that controls the issue of what we use. Now we talk about gas flaring. That is another pollutant. We've been saying that we're going to stop gas flaring since 2010. And this is 11 years. We haven't done anything major in that area. Another thing, of course, it has to do with the things we use in producing all the things that we're using. If you go to the petrochemical, for example, you'll be shocked. And I'm challenging you, journalists, today to do a little bit of more investigation into the processes of all of these plants that we're mentioning, for you to see how these things are done. And I mean, we can't achieve clean air if the fundamentals are not being touched. Right. And the fundamentals are the refineries, the illegal refineries, and all of the fuel that we're using in the environment.
There's, of course, the call to stop burning seized petroleum products by the GTF, like you mentioned. I think it also goes to the Nigerian Customs Service and the NDLEA, because every now and then there's either chicken being burnt or marijuana, seized drugs, or whatever, being burnt, in different parts of the country. Mr. Bello, I want you to share your move into talking about the health concerns, underlying health factors or health concerns that aren't even spoken about a lot here in Nigeria, from polluted air.
Well, I'm going to use Rivers. I've lived in Lagos for 31 years before I moved to Rivers State, and I know how it is. If you stand on the Eko Bridge, if you stand on Third Mainland Bridge, if you stand on Kata Bridge, if you go to Ikorodu, if you go to Magodo, if you go to Orishesi, if you go to Ojota, if you go to Idimu, if you go to Mowe, you'll see all of these sites where various activities are going on uncontrollably, where people just do whatever they like for survival. And the reason, of course, we've discussed the issue of poverty and orientation. And then let's look at the health implication, and I'd like to use River State, for example. We breathe in suits, and then here we are with the coronavirus and, affecting everybody, the issue of respiratory system. You see a lot of deaths occurring this year, and you begin to wonder what is the cause. It is not about witches or witchcraft or wizardry or whatever. I think the underlying factor is that people are now having respiratory issues because of air pollution and unclean air. And I think Nigerian government, whether at the state level, at the federal level, or at the local government level, needs to be more responsible for its citizens. It's important that we understand that all of these policies that we're doing as regards taxes, digital economy, Twitter, and all of those things, you're not doing this for yourselves. You're doing this for the people of this country. And it is absolute irrelevant for anything to be done where people are not healthy. People need to be healthy for them to enjoy policies. So if you're doing any policies that is not people-friendly, we must look at our health policies. How do we even manage? There is a Clean Health Act in Nigeria, 1956 or thereabout. I think it was they are trying to adjust it or something. I think the legislators need to also look at the issue of the act governing the issue of whether it is federal government that is exclusively responsible for environment or the state. Because I remember meeting with the governor, with my team and all of the Stop This campaign, and the governor said something. They said, go back to Abuja, where they have the responsibility to take care of the environment. It is not within our powers. And of course, the government at the center will tell you, go back to the state that has the numbers, the data of the people who are into illegal refinery. So you see, government needs to be responsible because this thing that we're breathing is cancerous, whether we like it or not. And it is not about now. In the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, you just see the majority of the people living with cancer. And health people have spoken about it several times without number, that once these things are not attended to, we risk the issue of people living with cancer. That's just the simple truth.
All right, finally, get to share with us, the campaign for this year, Healthy Air, Healthy Planet. What, is the campaign pushing this year, and what do you think Nigeria should be able to tap into, Nigerians rather, should tap into with this year's campaign?
I think first, as a group, today we are going all out, although on social media, because gathering has become an issue now. So we're passing the message through our social media platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on our personal pages, on WhatsApp statuses, that first people need to understand that the environment is the responsibility of everybody, not minding that we have a state or federal government. I mean, why should people dump refuse in drainages, blocking drainages? Why should people just eat things in their cars and drop the remnants on the streets? I see when it's raining, people just dump their refuse in the drainages. I mean, in 2021, we still have this mentality that when it's raining, we need to dump our refuse into the gutters and into the drainages so that the rain can take them away to where exactly, I don't know. So people need to be more responsible. If you can generate the refuse, you can dump it responsibly. One of the campaigns that we're doing is that people should learn to take care of their environment. And then, of course, we need to also make sure that we do not add to the pollutants. If you go to the slaughter everywhere in Nigeria, you see where people are using car tires to burn and get meat from cow, from pig, from rams and all of that. That is dangerous to our health. You see people cutting down trees. We need to start making reservations for this kind of thing. Our streets should not be lit with dirt and garbages. We should ensure that our areas, our cities are covered with trees. We engage in tree planting, and honestly, you'll be shocked to see that people are just saying that, why are you planting trees in front of my house? Why are you planting trees on this street and all that? I think we also need the National Orientation Agency to come into this space to ensure that people are every day encouraged and enlightened to understand that the environment responsibility is from everybody. Parents need to teach their children. Children need to understand that the environment is for us. If you look at the amount of plastics that we generate in this country,
there's a lot. There's so much. There need to be new policies.
I'm sad.
Yeah, there need to be completely new policies, even with plastic bags and some of all of that.
Exactly.
Tree planting also has to. It's something that needs to be spoken about more often. Tunde Bello, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thanks for speaking with us, and we wish you a successful campaign. Looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, that's it for today. This is a very interesting conversation that I'm very passionate about. But your perspective is that we have hunger to deal with first. But I mean, if the air pollution kills us all, who will be there to eat the food that's available?
We have hunger. I was just saying that there are certain conversations that are difficult to sell to people because they first of all need to survive. It's going to be hard for the United Nations, for the UNEP, for these NGOs and the likes to convince anybody who's still struggling to even find the kerosene to cook that they should start
and those
using cleaner
kerosene
energy.
kill people.
Yeah, they're
at the end of the
struggling,
day.
and so it's a
we need
difficult
information. We need
conversation.
enlightenment
Tree
about
planting
this.
also.
Definitely.
I think it was 2 weeks ago that I put out something on my Instagram about when how many houses these days. We grew up in environments where there was a tree in every house. Your home had house had something.
And that brought fresh air.
Orange trees, banana, pawpaw, tangerine, soursop.
We all had
There was something.
gardens,
Yeah,
you
there
know?
was something. Well, not even necessarily a garden, but every house in the 90s when I grew up, there was a particular tree. Even if it was the almond tree, there was something in every home. And every time, a couple of months, it gets ripe, you're excited because you want to pluck it and eat. If you go to your friend's house, there's something to pluck. There's a mango tree. These days, there's nothing. In the whole of phase 1 where I live, the whole of Folashibo, I don't remember any house that I can think of right now that I can say, okay,
They cut them
this
down
house
and
has
they
a
build a
tree.
mini flat in front.
It's crazy.
Oh, that's a show for you today, Tuesday edition of The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. If you missed out on any part of it, you can follow us on all our social media platforms. It's at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Instagram, and on our YouTube channel as well, at Plus TV Africa. We also have a new YouTube channel. It's at Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. Look forward to you subscribing and engaging with our content online. I am Anetta Felix.
And I am Osaogi Ogbawan. Have a beautiful Tuesday.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 I dey pay.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
And thanks for joining us on Plus News Brief. I am Destiny Momo. President Muhammadu Buhari has called for sustainable dialogue to achieve sustainable peace in Plateau, and this is following recent attacks in the state. The president made the call in an interactive session with stakeholders in the state on Monday at Government House, Jos. The Nigerian Inter-Religious Council, NIREC, and members of the Nigerian Governors Forum also attended the meeting. It's aimed at seeking lasting solutions to the insecurity in the state. The president was represented by the SGF, and he said that to attain the process of peace, the strategy must be inclusive, diverse, transparent, and sustained. He stressed the importance of the critical role of traditional, religious, and community leaders in galvanizing peace. He also commended Governor Simon Lalong for establishing the Inter-Religious Council in the state. And Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi says that President Muhammadu Buhari is set to inaugurate 20 projects, and these are projects successfully executed by the state government to uplift the quality of life of the people. Umahi disclosed these when he briefed State House correspondents at the end of a closed-door meeting with the president of the presidential Villa Abuja on Monday. He revealed that the projects include roads, medical centers, malls, and bridges. The governor commended Buhari for the execution of mega projects in southeastern part of the country. He says such projects, when completed, will have a great impact on the people of the region. And the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Ibrahim Mohammed, has asked 3 judges to appear before the National Judicial Council to defend their decisions to grant conflicting ex parte orders. The judges had recently issued clashing orders bordering on leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party and issues relating to party primaries ahead of the governorship election in Anambra State. The names of the judges are yet to be made public. Their invitation follows the interrogation of the chief judges of Rivers, Kebbi, Cross River, Anambra, Jigawa, and Imo states, as well as that of the FCT over varying court orders on the same matter. And Mr. Maxwell Opara, one of the lawyers defending Nnamdi Kanu, has filed a fundamental rights enforcement suit against the Director General of the DSS. Opara is also praying the court for an order of perpetual injunction, and this is restraining the 2 respondents and their representatives from further disturbing or interfering with his rights to dignity. He also wants them restrained from interfering with his freedom of movement by any further harassment, intimidation, and humiliation. This covers his routine visits to their detention facility to see his clients. The lawyer is equally demanding a written apology from the respondents to be published in 2 national dailies, and this is for the unwarranted infringement of his fundamental rights. And no date has, however, been fixed for hearing of the suit. The federal government says it will meet with the Joint Health Sector Unions, JOHESU, and it will also meet with the Assembly of the Health Care Professional Association. The joint meeting is tomorrow, and it is to avert the union's plan to embark on an indefinite nationwide strike. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, will be meeting with leadership of the Joint Health Sector Union of the Ministers' Conference Room at 2 p.m. The News Agency of Nigeria reports that Johesu on September 3 issued the federal government a 15-day ultimatum saying they will commence an indefinite strike at the end of the ultimatum over outstanding welfare allowances owed to its members. And Ahmed Aldi, Commandant General of NSCDC, has said that Nigeria requires more security personnel to effectively combat insecurity in the country. Aldi said this in Abuja at the opening ceremony of a 3-day conference. The theme was trained at the Trainer on Humanitarian Assistance in West Africa. The training was organized in collaboration with the Austrian Study Center for Peace and Conflict Resolution and Austrian Ministry of Defense. Nigeria is set to have about 1.1 million policing capacity to protect about 200 million people, which will not be easy. And Aldi said that there was the need for all security agencies to be at peace with one another to effectively tackle national insecurity at all levels. The Lagos State government is currently building a large-capacity rehabilitation center. The project is to address issues of increasing victims of drug abuse in the state. Special advisor to the governor on sustainable development goals and investment, Sholakbe Hammond, disclosed these on Monday. It was at a press conference to unveil the official launch of a platform tagged Lagos SDGs Youth Alliance. The platform is designed to engage youth in productive ventures. PlusTvAfrica's Government House correspondent Lovi Kuku Yedokun reports.
As a government, we recognize the value of collaboration and engagement.
The use of psychoactive substances among young people in Nigeria is assuming a worrisome dimension. Causes have been traced to peer pressure and the desire to exploit. This press conference by the Lagos State government is to discuss ways to mitigate these causes and the harmful effects.
The birth of this lofty initiative.
Special advisor to the governor on sustainable development goals and investment, Sholakbe Hammond, leads the conference. She introduces the plan for the largest rehabilitation centers in Africa. Perhaps the Lagos State SDGs Youth Alliance is a platform to the rescue.
And so this is something that the state takes very, very seriously. So the Ministry of Youth and Social Development has developed a handbook that we're all, working to implement. There will be a lot of interventions around drug abuse. We are building one of the largest drug rehabilitation centers in Africa currently as we speak.
Youths are supposed to be change agents, but many of them have been destroyed by drug abuse, rendering them unproductive. But the Lagos State government is all out to bring these menace to its knees.
Certainly, we're starting a new journey and shaping an exciting future by enabling young people to immerse in a social reality and responsibility that will help unleash a new tribe of citizens that are committed to common good. Ladies and gentlemen, we are poised to make this movement a special purpose vehicle that will drive a society of resourceful youth whose potentials are to be harnessed to drive the greater Lagos ambition by channeling their energy, education, intellect, and resourcefulness towards positive engagement for a better future.
Now, having a substantive engagement with young women and men, no doubt, will improve the efforts of the Lagos State government to establish positive influence on the society. From the Bukato Press Center, Ikeja, Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedokun, reporting for Plus TV Africa.
And Ondo State government has shut Imperial Hotel in Akure for allegedly posing a security risk. And that is the same reason for the shutting of a nightclub, Bola Como, last week. The senior special assistant to the governor on special duties, Doyin Odebowale, says the state won't allow any facility to be used as a den of criminals.
Because they want to make money. You see small boys, small girls? No, it's unacceptable. That place is shut. It till further notice, let them respect the law of this state. I do know that we have a standing, law which says that you must know the identity of whoever is coming to lodge in your facility. I know this, and I'm aware that in this state we have not permitted anybody to take drugs. I'm aware of that. Call it anything, Colorado, call it any name.
The representative of UNICEF in Nigeria, Dr. Peter Hawkins, has disclosed that a massive outbreak of vaccine-derived polio has been reported in Nigeria. Hawkins disclosed these in his remarks on Monday in Abuja. It was at the third quarter Northern Traditional Leaders Committee on Primary Health Care review meeting. And vaccine-derived cases are rare and they differ from wild cases. There are two kinds of polio cases. Wild cases of polio are caused by poliovirus, and that is circulating naturally in the environment. And vaccine-derived polioviruses are extremely rare and exist under specific circumstances. Oral polio vaccine contains a live virus that is weakened so that it will prompt the body's immune response without causing paralysis. And Nigeria now has more than 65,000 suspected cases of cholera spread across 23 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The latest data released by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, 2,127 suspected cases were reported last week, and which is week 33 since the outbreak of the disease. And this is a 62% decrease compared with the figure reported in week 32. Bauchi State with 855 suspected cases, Katsina with 396, and Kanu's 306 cases account for 73% of the new infections. The death toll in the outbreak is now 2,141. And our River State Governor Nyesom Wike is considering imposing a COVID-19 lockdown if residents fail to comply with prevention and control protocols. He said this in a broadcast where he reviewed the daily case count released by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control. The NCDC's figures show increases in transmission and death rates in the past 2 weeks. These have been blamed on non-compliance to COVID protocols by residents. And INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu says the Commission has so far registered 2,729,819 through online and 717,947 through physical captures. And this is from June to September 6 this year. Professor Yakubu reminded the political parties on its promise at the last meeting to make the process of the continuous voter registration technologically driven, and he urged the political parties to take advantage of his information while strategizing towards the forthcoming elections.
The functionality of the ZPad has now been integrated into the IBED currently used for voter registration. On election day, the same device will be used for bimodal voter accreditation as the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, for fingerprint identification during accreditation, and where it fails, for facial authentication. We believe that this multi-layer process will eliminate the process of voting by identity theft using another person's PVC. Where the voter fails the fingerprint and facial authentication, he or she will not be allowed to vote. In other words, going forward, no electronic authentication, no voting. The biometric voter accreditation system will now perform the functions of both the smart card reader and the ZPad in the by-election. Thereafter, it will be deployed to the Anambra State governorship election in November.
Outrage over rejection of electronic transfer of election results bill that will have motivated the Commission and the political parties to do more, which is still smoldering in the country, is quite understandably. But we are glad that the bill is still within the concave of the National Assembly for harmonization by both chambers, and urge all stakeholders to still persuade our elected representatives to listen to the voice of the people and support electronic transfer of election results.
And the Independent National Electoral Commission assured that this new evolution, the malfunctional device it is deploying, will make future elections more transparent and less controversial. And Chairman of Osun APC Local Government Congress Committee, Benga Elegbeleye, has said that those declared winners in the local government Congress held in the state on Saturday were screened and eligible candidates of this party. Chairman of the committee said this at a press conference held at the state APC Secretariat in Osogbo, and this was with a view to rectifying the outcome of the Congress. Elegbeleye said the Congress took place at only designated centers. He debunked rumors filtering from some quarters that parallel Congress was held in some local government areas. He said according to the leaders and stakeholders of the party, the committee was constituted to conduct Congress for only eligible and screened candidates of the party.
I'm very happy to present to you the results of the Congress reports, and those who are supposed to be delegates to vote in this Congress, the World ESCO and the state delegates, those qualified to be the voters were all there to vote and elect the local government party officers. We moved around. Of course, we cannot reach all the local governments, but in our visits, we couldn't see any other place where there was Congress other than the party designated centers given to us that we went to. And nobody contacted us, nobody or group of persons informed us that there will be Congress elsewhere.
And now from news from other parts of Africa, Guinean government officials are barred from travel until further notice, and they must hand over their official vehicles to the military. And the Libyan authorities have released Ali Gaddafi, that's the son of the former leader Muammar Gaddafi, who was ousted and killed during the 2011 uprising. Ali Gaddafi fled for Niger during the NATO-backed uprising, but he was extradited to Libya in 2014 and has been imprisoned since then in Tripoli. He immediately departed on a plane to Istanbul. Saadi, now 47, was known for his playboy lifestyle during his father's dictatorship. The former professional footballer had been held in a Tripoli prison, and he was accused of crimes committed against protesters in 2011 and of the 2005 killing of Libyan football coach Bashir al-Rayani. In April 2018, the Court of Appeal acquitted him of Rayani's murder. And during the uprising, 3 of the dictator's 7 sons were killed, and the country has since sunk into chaos, with rival factions vying for power. And from outside Africa, the Taliban has declared victory over the province of Panjshir, northeast of the Afghan capital Kabul. The group posted footage online of their fighters raising their flag there on Monday, but resistance fighters say they are yet to cave in as they continue to fight. Their leader has called for a national uprising against the Taliban. And Panjshir, a rugged mountain valley, is the final pocket of territory which has remained outside the Taliban's rule. It is home to between 150,000 and 200,000 people. And New Zealand is finalizing arrangements to procure more coronavirus vaccines as it prepares for the relaxing of restrictions in all regions outside Auckland, its largest city. The country detected 21 new locally acquired cases of COVID-19 all in Auckland, up from 20 a day earlier. And on Monday, authorities said schools, offices and businesses can reopen outside Auckland from Wednesday, but masks will remain mandatory in most public venues. Indoor hospitality venues will be limited to 50 patrons and outdoor venues to 100 people.
We are now finalising arrangements that secure additional supply in September. This will enable us to maintain our extraordinary vaccination rates throughout September until our bulk deliveries land in October. We chose to stand up extra capacity, and we've experienced demand at 180% of what we planned for. At our peak in recent weeks, we have been vaccinating more people per capita than countries like the UK, the US, Australia and Canada were at their peaks.
And now it's time for entertainment news. Cardi B and Offset have welcomed their second child, a baby boy. The singer, who announced her pregnancy back in June, took to Instagram to announce the news with an adorable picture. And just yesterday, Cardi B took to Instagram again to share the good news. She posted an adorable picture of herself holding a newborn child with Offset. The 28-year-old singer's baby announcement picture shows her sitting on the hospital bed holding a newborn son in a blue knit blanket. Her husband can be seen sitting right by her side. And American actor Michael Williams, best known for starring in HBO drama series The Wire, has been found dead in his New York apartment. He was 54. U.S. media quotes law enforcement sources as saying he died from a suspected drug overdose, but this has not been officially confirmed. Williams, who was nominated for 3 Emmy Awards, had openly discussed his struggles with drugs over the years. And now sports news. The captain Ibadan Golf Club, Ola Ibironke, has spoken of the need for golf development in both primary and secondary schools in the country. Ibironke, who was speaking to newsmen on the preparation for the club's made an edition of club captains competition to be hosted at Ibadan from 18th of September, said the game of golf will help the children to be honest and disciplined in their studies.
There are some programs coming up that want to partner with some schools to be sending their students here for probably sections in golfing. So the programs and the ideas on the way area of golf club captains and past captains. The tournament is actually meant for the active captains and the past captains to bring them together, honor them. Let's play golf together. Let's interact, exchange ideas.
Golf is a game that either you're old or you're young, you can play. Preferably to even start when you're young. If you start early, you have the chances of playing a very, very good golf at the later age. Your handicap will come down. It's a game it's like a science.
And still on sports, unseeded South African Lloyd Harris is into the U.S. Open quarterfinals with a dominant win over American Riley Opelka. The 24-year-old won an incredible 92% of his first serve points, smashing 36 aces and 62 winners to seize the initiative against Opelka. And after his victory, Harris admitted it was tough playing against the American.
It can be frustrating playing Riley, that's for sure. I mean, the guy has an unbelievable serve and, lots of respect to the spots he hits on big points. It's amazing. So I'm glad I held my composure, and I also served pretty well today, so that was pretty nice. He's definitely been an inspiration to a lot of kids also in South Africa, and that's been nice. And hopefully I can also now show them that there is a pathway for more South Africans to come through. And he's definitely the first one that have shown that South Africans can still play pretty good tennis.
It was a really tricky match, as I expected. Different court. Tricky player. I wasn't feeling, Really good at the beginning. I had to adjust a little bit about the conditions, and obviously it was a match that I knew I could win, and it's never easy when it's like that. I felt a little bit the pressure, but I think I handled it pretty well, and I think he was playing good and also in the right way in order to not make me play my best tennis. And unfortunately, it didn't end up like I think how the crowd and especially Oscar deserved.
And football great Pele said he's recovering in hospital from surgery to remove a tumor from his colon. The 80-year-old says he's feeling good, but it did not say whether the tumor is malignant. The Albert Einstein Hospital in Sao Paulo, where he was operated on, is still keeping Pele in intensive care, but expects to transfer him to a room today. Pele is the only player to win 3 World Cups. And that's the news brief. For more, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Destiny Momo. Thanks for watching.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say.
The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.